Hi, welcome to the Busy Woman's Book Review. My name is Michelle Bader and I will be your host for this channel. Whether you are tuning in via YouTube or podcast, I am so happy to have you here. So I thought I would start with introducing myself and then we'll get into our first book review. So I am a 40-something woman who, on the low side of the something, just so you know. Who loves to read but is super busy. I have 3 kids, ages 12, 13, and 15, and we have a lot of stuff going on, and I don't want to have to search through thousands of books to figure out what my next read is. Have you ever been on Amazon and just been overwhelmed by the book choices? I know that I have. My favorite types of books are books that help me grow. I read predominantly nonfiction with some fiction sprinkled in. I like inspirational Christian books the best. Anything that's going to help me to grow as a person, mentally, spiritually. Sometimes there's books that help me grow physically, all of that stuff. So I'm always looking for the next best read, and I don't want to take tons of time to figure it out. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to start a book review for the busy woman who is just like me, who maybe has 5 to 10 minutes to listen to a quick podcast or YouTube to tell her what to read, but doesn't want to sort through everything. So that's a little bit about myself. I have been an avid reader since I was in elementary school. I remember when we used to get book orders, you know, like Scholastic and that kind of thing. And I would always be the kid with 20 books on my desk after recess because my mom would let me order as many as I wanted, which I thought was awesome. And I became an avid reader, Babysitter Club, Sweet Valley Kids, Sweet Valley High, you know, all of those. And then some Christian books, Christy Miller series when I was a teenager. And then I went on to keep reading, eventually became a writer as well. And so I know what it looks like to not only read a good book, but create a good book. So in these episodes, I will be going through my top 100 inspirational books that I have read that have impacted my life. And then I will be adding to it after that. I'll probably review 2 books a week. And if you want to go ahead and jump ahead and get that list, you can click in the link below. And after I get your email, I will send you the list of 100 top books that I think have been really inspirational in my life. So anyways, I've read most of these. I'm a big Kindle reader. I very rarely, like 2% of my books, read physical books. So when I talk about them, I might not be holding up the actual cover. Maybe I'll get it to appear virtually, ding, but I'm talking about a book I've read. My number 1 top book is called It's Not Supposed to Be This Way by Lysa TerKeurst. This book came out maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, and I love it because as I get older, I am realizing more and more that life is not the way we thought it would be. The more that I get older and I meet with my friends and people I haven't seen in a long time, I realized that nobody's life turned out like they thought it would be. So just the title, boom, that grabs me right there. It's not supposed to be this way. That is so true. So Lisa's story is when her husband had an affair on her and how she dealt with that and how God was able to pull her through that, through her darkest times. And this book really spoke to me in so many ways because my husband is going through stage 4 cancer. He's on hospice, and this is not how I thought my life would look either. So I can completely relate to her title. I am imagining if you're a busy woman listening to this podcast, you can relate to the title that your life is not the way that you thought it would be. Can I get a uh-huh? I'm sure you can. So I think you will really relate on this on so many levels. She goes into how she gets through this, how God gets her through this, how he picks her up. She shares verses that have helped her. And it doesn't end like, yay, everything's great. I'm not going to give away the ending, but it's a realistic, it's not a fiction book. So it's not like, yay, and they all lived happily ever after. She had to learn how to get through these times. And I want to read you just a few excerpts from the book. Like I said earlier, I read everything digitally, whether it's on my iPad or on my Kindle. So a lot of times you'll see me referring to a device, which is actually the book. So some really great stuff from this book. Humans are very attached to outcomes. We say, trust God, but behind the scenes, we work our fingers to the bone and our emotions into a tangled fray, trying to control our outcomes. We praise God when our normal looks like we thought it would be. We question God when it doesn't. Think about that for a second. When everything is great, we don't question God, right? But if our normal does not look like we thought it would be, we start wondering, what's wrong with us? What did I do? One of the best conclusions I ever came to while going through all of this stuff is to stop questioning why. It's not going to change anything, but just start trusting God. We got to let the whys go. That's been huge for me. Okay, let's read another one. Though we can't predict or control or demand the outcome of our circumstances, we can know with great certainty we will be okay, better than normal. We will be victorious because Jesus is victorious. 1 Corinthians 1, 1 Corinthians 15:57. And victorious people were never meant to settle for normal. And it goes on and on. There's so many great highlights. And at the end of every chapter, she has scriptures to soak in and reflect, questions to think on. So it's not just a read it through book. You really have time to think about things. And I love how she talks about, chapter 1 is actually called Between Two Gardens. And she talks about when we're here on earth and we're going to heaven, right now is the in-between time. We're in between the two gardens, and it's not going to be like we thought it would be, but that's okay. Disappointment isn't proof that God is withholding good things from us. Sometimes it's his way of leading us home. And there's just so many good things. Oh, this one spoke to me huge. If the enemy can isolate us, he can influence us. Think about that for a second. If you start drawing back from people, and I know this happens when we go through hard things, if you start drawing back from them and you don't involve yourself in your life and you just kind of pull back, you can be isolated by yourself. And that is the time when we're the most vulnerable to the attacks. That's what I think. That when we're not talking to people about what we're going through, when we are just shut in our little corner, we are not going to be able to be influenced as much by other people. It's so good. If God's symphony continues to play loud and strong as the ultimate soundtrack of our lives, we will sense how to get back on track. We will feel how to get back in rhythm. We will hear how to get back in tune. Love it. Anyways, I could go on and on, but I want you to read the book. So I will leave a link below. If you click on that, it will bring you straight to the Amazon version where you could either buy it on Kindle, the ebook, or you can buy the paperback book, and or buy it wherever you buy books, and that will lead you right to it. But this is one of my absolute favorite books. I also had the privilege of going to see Lysa TerKeurst last summer at the conference called She Speaks for Christian speakers and writers, and I got a chance to hug her and thank her for the book and take a picture with her, and it was just an amazing time to be able to say thank you. I'm going through something really hard, and this book helped me, so thank you for writing that book. So anyways, this is the first episode of the Busy Woman's Book Review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll come back and talk to you about another book real soon. Enjoy your reading.